Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the uh, Mid-South Wrestling Review Series for 1982. We move to the 20th of um, March in 1982 with this particular episode. Good news is I found some stuff that will carry us a little bit backwards in 1981 as well, but I'll do that at the end of what's available through the network, and also there's a couple of episodes, just a handful, from 77 through 80. So I'm going to have the most comprehensive Mid-South Wrestling Review series available, hopefully about 300 plus episodes by the end of it. That's the goal anyway. And just trying to move us along into having the largest audio archive on YouTube review style. We see that Paul Orndorff is, um, kind of dissatisfied here. We see that there is an eventuality to him feeling the need to be dissatisfied in a couple of weeks here. Actually, I've opened the notes for the following week. So, as we move to 20, let me just open the right notepad here because I was looking at notes for things that happened in the 27th. That doesn't work out very well. A lot of people say, well, why don't you just re-edit this? Because I want to appear human. I think a lot of people on YouTube are so focused on editing and not looking real and everything looking perfect and they're polished and they're no. Live to stream is the way we do things here. If I mess up, you hear it. I'm human, and that should be okay. Introduction by Boyd Pierce to Jim Ross, who they say is doing some bull riding stuff and some has his own wrestling syndicated program radio wise. They don't really talk about where, but the introduction by Boyd Pierce, who has been the primary announcer for the Mid South area for several years. Ross introduced here. Thinking of him being there in 1982 is just really amazing. I love Jim Ross from about 82, where he starts here, through about, well, when he starts with WWE. I love him in AEW. I love him in New Japan. His WWE stuff, especially during the hot Monday Night Wars era, is not stuff I'm a fan of. I know a lot of people are. It's how they grew up. I get it. But I love Jim Ross calling wrestling as a sport, and seeing him do that is a pretty big thing here. We see footage of the knee surgery of Ernie Ladd taking place on February 26th of 82. Why they put this on television, I don't know. I guess to get sympathy or whatever, but it is very graphic for the time. They do the scope of the knee, and it's just, well, not something I was thrilled to sit through, to say the very least. Sympathy on Ernie Ladd, though. He does have the whole knee scoped, and I suppose showing that on television gets over the danger of wrestling and dealing with the Samoans and all that. Ernie Ladd cuts a promo next at ringside, basically saying he's here to defend his territory. He wants to get his hands on Akbar and the Samoans and all of that. He'll be back, and he promises to do that. He says he's been down before when he was in football. He's been down before in wrestling, and nothing has stopped him before. Buddy Landel has an interesting challenge here. One-man gang, although one-man gang aligned now with, and that is the gentleman we've seen attack without a name over the past couple of weeks, and is attacking at the bequest and request of Skandar Akbar. Buddy Landel is his opponent today. One-man gang, though, wearing a cape and a singlet and has hair. So he has not found his gimmick by any stretch of the imagination yet, although he will pretty quickly. I believe by 1983 he moves into world class, if I remember correctly. Anyhow, he manages to use his power against Landel, and he basically throws Landel across the ring. Big guy, the gang, such a really, from what I've seen in interviews and just people that I've heard talk about him over the years, such a friendly guy. Lost his home to, I believe, a flood years ago. and he came back from that. It's just amazing to me the type of things that some people can go through and they come back. But anyhow, Landell having trouble coming back, literally, as he gets body slammed and splashed. 1, 2, 3, and out we go. Out of that match anyway. And One Man Gang picks up a victory in his first official television match against Buddy Landell. So there's some trivia for people who might be into wrestling trivia, you know. Anyway, Bob Roop and Killer Carl Cox is up next, and that's a pretty basic match for the nature of it. Cox has been around now for a few weeks, and he's doing a bit of the crazy babyface thing. Bob Roop is in the ring. He's basically saying that he doesn't know where Paul Orndorff is. Orndorff is supposed to challenge for the North American Championship later in the program. Lots of big debuts this week. We'll get to that in a minute. One Man Gang, not the only debut by far. Killer Carl makes his way out, and he basically says to Rupp, doesn't really matter what's going on in your life as far as Orndorff is concerned or anything else. We're going to do battle. Rupp is quick in hand with that, and certainly a styles clash. Rupp more the traditional wrestling style, whereas Cox is, the brawler, punch, kick, basic stuff again. Multi-colored boots and the black tights, and he actually leaves the military hat on for this particular bout. Punch, kick, and really basic stuff. Short knee lift, and obviously into the corner we go. Attempted drop toe hold, but misses again. Cox with the knee, the short knee, and again we go to seeing Roop tie him up in the ropes. That only lasts for a little while, and we see the big brain buster by Cox, and he gets a victory. Now, here's what's interesting. In the same program, we're going to see a major storyline development for Bob Roop, and that's interesting in and of itself, and I'll kind of get there in a minute, because he faces off against Ted DiBiase for the North American Championship. Jesse Barr and Terry Gibbs against the Samoans. Samoans still your tag team champions, Afa and Sika, managed by Skandor Akbar. And again, that management by Akbar is what caused the injury to Ernie Ladd. So notice how in this time, watching week to week episodically pays off. When's the last time watching Raw or SmackDown for more than maybe 2 weeks in a row, maybe 3, I'll be generous, has paid off for anybody? Maybe WrestleMania season on the good years, but other than that, anyway. So, kind of the tie-ups the Samoans do are aggressive. A lot of punch kick there. Ducks the head and drop kick by one of their challengers. Short cutoff, kicks and punches, and domination by the Samoans, chokes, and the like. Eventually, obviously, they get a victory. They're not going to lose in an enhancement-style contest. And they get a victory via that Samoan drop. They always keep the ring cut off on their opponents pretty decisively. Big clothesline and the like in the nature of the corner there. And ultimately, it's, a pretty big deal to see the tag team champions. But we're here more than anything for the following match. What we see is the North American Championship, Bob Roop, in a situation where he is challenging for the North American Championship. Now, we find out at the end of the program that Paul Orndorff was originally supposed to challenge, and that is reinforced in the earlier promo. But we'll find out more details in that way then. And, of course, DiBiase and Roop, an interesting match here. Roop more powerful, DiBiase more finesse. DiBiase probably the biggest babyface in the territory at the time. roll up on an inside cradle. Pretty basic stuff, short knee, and Roop actually begging off from DiBiase. I always like, even when a champion is smaller than their heel that they're facing, that heel begging off adds another level. Makes the championship and the champion look stronger, and that is good. DiBiase with a forearm, but Roop manages to get the leg over the bottom rope. This does not make DiBiase happy by any stretch of the imagination, and he actually pounds the mat in frustration. Little thing, but useful. Cross body by DiBiase gets a 2 count there, and he is less than happy with that. Down and cranking on the side headlock. Referee very close in, making sure not giving a submission. I actually would love to have wondered, probably the 1950s, 1960s, the last time a headlock got a submission out of something. But some cheating and shots to the eyes and eye rakes by Roop there. Kickoff by DiBiase, who then goes and picks the leg pretty aggressively. Roop gets DiBiase off in the corner. Short slam by DiBiase does not get the 3 count. Some ride time on a front face lock and some really basic stuff there. And DiBiase gets driven back into the corner. Notice they've given this match probably 10 minutes plus, but it's a championship match. The pacing of the importance of and length of the match should be denoted by the championship caliber of said match. Short power slam, beautifully done by DiBiase, who then locks in the figure 4. Now, the figure 4 has been gotten over as DiBiase's main finishing maneuver for the last several months, at least since I started watching in December, and that continues. Roop does turn DiBiase over into almost that inverted Indian deathlock, but then finally makes his way to the rope. DiBiase has him in the hold for about 2.5 minutes, and then tries to reapply the hold after the referee forces the break. This time, the official kicks him, gets kicked off, and kicked off into. The official goes to the outside. This allows the one-man gang to come down and attack Ted DiBiase, driving his leg repeatedly into the post. This then allows for Bob Roop to hook on his own version of the figure 4, which, by the way, he has been using. And DiBiase is just, he's there. He is unconscious with pain. And the referee stops the match and awards the North American Championship to your new North American champion, Bob Roop, due to ref stoppage. Now, DiBiase loses nothing by being stopped by the ref because he passed out due to the pain. And that is an amazing finish because you can bring that back, and DiBiase has a legitimate claim that he was never truly beaten for the championship without the interference of the one-man gang. Now you've set up DiBiase and the gang as a grudge match, but also DiBiase still in the championship hunt. Masterful storytelling. And then we move to a tag team standby match. Tully Blanchard, who right now is the manager of FDR in AEW, but here, coming over from, I believe, his own father's territory in 1982, Blanchard and Mike Boyer versus JYD and Mr. Olympia in a tag team match here. They only have a couple of minutes. The match really doesn't get too terribly far as it breaks down into a brawl early, and there's also a interview segment they got to get in before they close the program. Short knee lift by Tully Blanchard. Blanchard goes right after the dog. Dog sends him flying, and Blanchard, somebody raised the idea that Blanchard was always in motion constantly. I think it was Jim Cornette on a podcast, but you see that even here. He gets kicked out, and then Boyer comes in, gets slammed down. Mr. Olympia pretty dominant on Boyer for the next few minutes. With less than 5 minutes to go in the program, they see a scoop slam, power slam, thump by JYD. JYD with the victory for his team. And again, Blanchard untested. We see him debut We see him take a couple of moves, but we don't see anything really come to fruition with all of that. Paul Orndorff is here. He says the starting mechanism was taken out of his car. He doesn't know who to blame, but he has a good idea. He was cheated. He was manipulated, lied to, and he's not sure who to blame quite yet. But he's going to get even. He blames DiBiase, but also hints that Roop might have had something to do with it. Somebody somewhere had something to do with it, and he is very unhappy about that. As we close this week's masterful Mid-South Wrestling program, we'll be back with more right after this.